Welcome, everyone. Firstly, I would like to say that North Bay is the traditional territory of the Nipissing First Nation and Anishinaabe. This territory is covered by the Robinsons Huron and Upper Canada treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate the connection we have to this land and to the Indigenous peoples. I want to start by saying that anything worth fighting for is never easy. As your choice for Green MPP, I would never make reckless grand gestures every 4 years and disappear between elections like we've seen our incumbent doing. Together, we will build affordable, supportive housing. Together, we will make homelessness and the addictions crisis a thing of the past and our first and foremost priority. Together, we will continue to build meaningful relationships with the Nipissing First Nations to provide them with opportunities for growth and dignity. Together, we will make Turtle Island a true paradise for all. I will vote to repeal Bill 124, and we will fight for better access to affordable, accessible, and comprehensive mental health care under OHIP. I am truly inspired by the hard work of Mike Schreiner and all the work that he's been doing at Queen's Park all by himself. I want nothing more than to join him. Mike, I got your back. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome Ontario Green leader, Mike Schreiner.
John, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us here today. It's a real honor to be in North Bay, and I'm especially honored to be joined by Sean McLaughlin, our candidate for Nipissing, and Chris Rivard, the Ontario Green candidate for Temiskaming Cochrane. We have fantastic Green candidates all across the North and all across Ontario. And I want to say today that Northern Ontario is by far one of the most spectacular places you'll ever spend time in. One of the true honors of being the Ontario Green leader has been the opportunity to travel all across the North, from North Bay to Hearst to Thunder Bay and places beyond. And I just want to say that one of my favorite summer activities is taking my daughter on a father-daughter canoe trip. And our favorite place to go is just north of here in Temagami. But I also know that with spectacular beauty and natural heritage and long distance between communities presents significant challenges. Challenges to accessing healthcare and education professionals, challenges in accessing affordable housing, mental health and addiction services, from internet to roads to transportation linkages and rural and remote broadband. There are significant challenges in northern communities. We know that the climate crisis will disproportionately affect northern communities. We saw that last summer with the evacuation of 6 First Nations communities in northwestern Ontario due to the forest fires. But I'm also here to say that there is great hope and opportunity for the North in the new climate economy. And today I'm so proud to put forward the Ontario Greens plan for Northern Ontario. And it starts by creating new career opportunities and good jobs in the new climate economy. From mining and forestry in particular, the North has the resources Ontario needs to be a global leader in the new climate economy. We need a government that will ensure equitable partnerships with Indigenous communities to develop the mines and metals to power electric vehicles. We need to remove the barriers to high value added timber buildings to take advantage and maximize the value of forestry in Northern Ontario. Second, we have to ensure that Northerners have access to high quality healthcare. That means investing in more virtual tools to access care. But it also means ensuring that we have more healthcare professionals and especially more access to primary healthcare providers in the North. And the Greens are especially committed to investing in more and rolling out more nurse practitioner-led clinics to have comprehensive and wrap around integrated professional healthcare services in communities across the North. Third, we know that the mental health and addictions crisis is affecting communities all across Ontario, but it's disproportionately impacting northern communities. The drug poisoning crisis is 3 times more prevalent in the North than it is in the South. That's why I'm so proud that the Ontario Greens were the first party in Ontario history to release a standalone mental health strategy, one that commits to making mental health and addiction services available through OHIP, and one that recognizes that access to stable housing, a housing first strategy, is essential to addressing the mental health and addictions crisis. So I'm proud to announce today, as part of our plan to build 160,000 deeply affordable housing spaces across Ontario, we've specifically committed to building 4,000 permanent supportive housing spaces with wraparound mental health and addictions and other supports in Northern Ontario. And in addition to that, building 6,000 deeply affordable homes for people, because people need to have an affordable place to call home in the communities they love, where they can access the services they need. Fourth, green for homes, absolutely. Fourth is an investment in expanding education and French language services in the North. And in particular, a commitment to making the Université du Sudbury a French language university operated for and by Francophones. In addition to our plan to expand investments in education and French language services, including bringing the French Language Services Commissioner's office back in Ontario that Doug Ford canceled. Fifth, a plan to protect the natural heritage and the beauty of the North, with a commitment to protecting 30% of nature across Ontario this decade. And we are making a commitment of funding $1 billion for Indigenous communities to have Indigenous protected and conservation areas and Indigenous-led climate solutions, because we know that we will not protect this place we call home if we don't heal our relationships with Indigenous peoples. And we know that Indigenous wisdom and knowledge can lead the way in protecting the places we love in the North. Sixth, strengthening our relationships and commitments to Indigenous communities. We know that the housing affordability crisis and the homeless crisis disproportionately affects Indigenous peoples. That's why the Ontario Greens housing plan has made a commitment to building 22,000 Indigenous-led housing spaces across Ontario, with a commitment of 14,000 of those spaces being in northern communities, because we know that stable housing is vital to people's quality of life and ensuring dignity in our communities. And finally, our commitment to connected communities. We know that rolling out rural broadband, including satellite broadband services in Northern Ontario, is vital to connecting the North to the rest of the world. But we also need a firm commitment, and the Ontario Greens are making this, to provide the capital funding to bring the Ontario Northlander back now, and to fully fund the $12 million operating subsidy that the Northlander needs. It was wrong for the previous government to cancel the Ontario Northlander, and it was wrong for Doug Ford to say he would bring it back and not get it done in his first term of office. In addition to our commitment to Ontario Northland train service, the Ontario Greens are making a commitment to expanding and enhancing interconnectivity of bus services between communities in Northern Ontario, because we know people need those connected communities to access healthcare, social services, family, and friends. So I want to say to the people of Northern Ontario, Ontario Greens have your back. We have a vision for the North to be prosperous, to be a leader in the new climate economy, to create the new career and job opportunities people in the North need to succeed. We have a commitment to using the prosperity generated in that economy to invest in better education and public healthcare services, to repair our relationship with Indigenous peoples, and to ensure that Northern communities are connected, vibrant, and prosperous. That's the vision that I know of the Northern Ontario you want, because I've talked to you, I've met with you, and I'm here to say Ontario Greens and our candidates across the North are ready to provide the leadership to be your voice at Queen's Park. Thank you, and I'm available to now take questions.
Thank you. We'll start with any questions on the floor.
I was wondering, have you costed out your platforms yet? How much will Ontarians be paying and how much will they be getting back?
Yes, we will be releasing our fully costed platform on Thursday morning. And it will be fully costed. We've already released a fully costed housing strategy. So all the commitments I made today related to housing have been fully costed in the plan we released last June. We've fully costed our climate plan, which we released last end of October, beginning of November. And we've fully costed the mental health strategy we've put out. So many of the commitments I announced today have already been part of the costed platforms we put out. We will put out a fully costed platform on Thursday. And one thing I guarantee people you will not see there are election gimmicks. As the only MPP at Queen's Park to oppose Doug Ford's license plate gimmick, I just want to say to the people of Ontario, we're here to earn your vote, not buy your vote. And these kinds of election gimmicks cost the provincial treasury billions of dollars that would be better spent in improving healthcare, education, and social services for people in the North and across the province.
Any more questions from the floor? Okay, all good from the floor. Jess, we'll go over to you to moderate the Zoom questions.
Okay. We'll now take questions online. Please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. First question comes from Julian Cayuette.
Merci, bonjour. Mr. Schreiner, you mentioned you would support the University de Sudbury to become the French university. What about the programs from Laurentian? Would you encourage force their transfer to University of Sudbury, or would you leave it as is?
Yes, I think one of the most disappointing aspects of what has happened with Laurentian University, and I just want to say that no provincial government ever again should allow a university to declare bankruptcy, and a disproportionate a number of the programs that Laurentian has canceled are in French. And we know that there are, over 150,000 francophones in Northern Ontario who deserve access to French language education. And absolutely, we believe that the University de Sudbury can provide the foundation to provide those French language courses and programs.
Okay, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just confirm. So you would remove the French program from your Laurentian and they give them to Sudbury. And also, what about a Indigenous institution that they request and work on?
Yeah, absolutely. We need stronger Indigenous education. And so I believe very strongly in Francophone-led French education, Indigenous-led Indigenous education. And I know from my touring of the MacEwan School of Architecture in Sudbury is a perfect example of how powerful it is to integrate Indigenous education in our post-secondary systems, particularly when it comes to the use of wood and timber building and Indigenous teachings and learnings. And I think it's absolutely critical that we have in not only Indigenous-led housing solutions, which I talked about today, Indigenous-led climate solutions, which I've talked about today, but also Indigenous-led education.
Thank you. Next question comes from Ian Kaufman.
Hi, yeah, thanks for taking our questions today. I'm a reporter with TB Newswatch in Thunder Bay. First question, I'm just wondering, you've identified some key ridings where you feel the party can build momentum. I don't believe most of those are in Northern Ontario, and certainly not further up north where we are. Last time in our 2 ridings here, the candidates got under 3% of the vote. And I'm just wondering realistically what you're hoping to accomplish for the party in the Northwest, specifically in this election.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And you know what, we're excited. We have a full slate of 124 candidates in every riding across Ontario, including in the North. And we know that we have work to do in the North, but we're incredibly excited. In the near North, Matt Richter, Parry Sound, Muskoka is in a fantastic chance to be elected. Sean McLaughlin right here in Nipissing is a strong candidate who's doing well. Chris Rivard and Temiskaming Cochrane. We have strong Green candidates across the North, and today will be a historic day. It'll be the first time that a 4th party has participated in the leaders' debate. And for many Northerners, it'll be the first opportunity they'll have to see what the Green Party's vision is and how connected that vision is to Northern values and the prosperous future that I think the North will attain in the new climate economy. And I'm just looking forward to being able to present that vision and share our fantastic candidates in the North with Northerners today.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, thanks. So you mentioned the importance of the mining industry in the Northwest in terms of fostering a green economy, things like electric vehicles. How would your approach to resources in the North, including the Ring of Fire, differ from the Ford government?
Well, first of all, it begins with ensuring that we have free informed prior consent from Indigenous peoples, that Indigenous communities are full equity partners in the mining sector, particularly those rare and critical earth minerals, and that we ensure that we use sustainable mining practices. Our candidate, David Robinson in Sudbury, has been one of the not only leaders in the North, but global leaders in helping develop Ontario as a hub for sustainable mining practices. And so we think we can be an example for the rest of the world in how to mine critical and rare earth minerals in a way that is environmentally sustainable, but also engages on the path to reconciliation. And, you know, when Premier Ford, or Doug Ford at this point, I guess, says things like, I'm going to hop on a bulldozer and, you know, go up to Northwestern Ontario and dig the minerals myself. I mean, I just think that shows a level of disrespect for Indigenous peoples and Northerners that will only delay the development of mining in the North. And finally, I just want to say the Ontario Greens are committed to revenue resource sharing with Northern municipalities and Indigenous communities, because we want to ensure that the prosperity from the mining in the North stays and benefits the North.
Thank you. Next question comes from Randy Thoms.
Hi, Mr. Schreiner, talking to you from Fort Frances at the far end of Ontario. As many people in Northwestern Ontario would say, that our issues in this area far differ from those in Northeastern Ontario and in Southern Ontario. My question is to you, do you have any plans to visit Northwestern Ontario, the communities here, to see firsthand the issues that our people here are facing?
Yeah, so I've visited the Northwest in the past, and I've also had during COVID, when we were unable to travel, unfortunately, have had very productive meetings virtually with municipal leaders, Indigenous leaders in the Northwest, and we'll continue to have those meetings and those conversations. I fully understand particularly the significant challenges that tourism operators have faced, particularly with the closure of the US border and the need to have sector-specific and targeted government supports for those businesses who are barely hanging on, quite frankly, due to the pandemic. The need for internet access, in particular satellite internet access, because we know it's going to be very challenging to lay broadband, particularly in all parts of the North, especially in the Northwest. Absolutely understand the need to invest more in fire protection and prevention, especially given the vulnerabilities the Northwest in particular faces with the climate crisis. But as I've mentioned, also the huge economic opportunities that exist if we develop rare earth and critical mineral mining properly and sustainably. We can make Ontario a global leader, and Northwest Ontario will be particularly benefit from the prosperity generated, provided we have one, more autonomy for Northerners to make decisions that affect them, and two, we ensure that revenue resource sharing benefits Northern communities.
You're very proud of your electric vehicle that you're driving around in Southern Ontario and maybe up to North Bay. I'm just wondering if in your travels coming to Northwestern Ontario, one of the big issues here is how do you charge those units? As one, as the president of the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association said, where are you going to put these chargers? On trees? So I guess your plan for more electric chargers in Northwestern Ontario, how would you see them given the distance between each community is much greater than 200 kilometers?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. And I've had some moments in Northwestern Ontario where I've been nervous about my gasoline vehicle not making it as well. So I absolutely understand and appreciate that challenge. We need to ensure that we upgrade electrical infrastructure across Ontario, particularly in the Northwest. We're going to need that for the mining industry as well. And so we need to, and we have a commitment in our climate plan to roll out electric vehicle high-speed chargers all across Ontario, the Trans-Canada Highway especially. And the good news is that the range on electric vehicles now, is oftentimes 500 kilometers, less in the winter, quite frankly, and especially the severe cold winters in the Northwest. So, maybe more limited to 300 kilometers. And with the high-speed chargers now, you can charge an electric vehicle in half an hour, but we need those chargers in place. You're absolutely right. And that's why we need a government that's going to invest in the electrical infrastructure and the charging infrastructure, because we know that you can charge an electric vehicle at a high-speed charger for $10 to $15. Meanwhile, people are spending, well over $100 filling their cars and trucks up with gas and diesel. So we need to help people save money, and we need to make sure the infrastructure is in place to help them do that.
Thank you. Next question comes from Steve Piken.
Thanks very much. Hi, Mr. Schreiner. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. There are probably many environmentalists south of the French River who don't understand how supporting mining and mineral exploration can be done in a way that's consistent with green principles. Can you explain to them whether you think it can be done?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It absolutely can be done. And I think that's why it's so important to have the leader of the Ontario Green Party so actively talking about the huge opportunities that exist in the North, not only for mining, but also for forestry as well. And so, I've met with a number of mining companies, and I've also met with a number of Indigenous leaders who have talked about, one, critical mineral mining can be done if it's done properly in a very low impact way. The electrification of mining, which we're already seeing in mines in the Sudbury region, not only lower environmental impact, but it also improves mine safety and lowers costs when it comes to ventilation in mining. And we also know because most rare earth and critical mineral mining has lower capital investment requirements than other forms of mining, that there's more opportunities for Indigenous equity partnership in those mines. Matter of fact, there's, believe it or not, there's actually a social enterprise in my riding of Guelph called Shared Value Solutions. It's working with Indigenous communities in the North on these kinds of issues. So I think there's a huge opportunity in the North. And yeah, I'll speak directly to any Southern environmentalist who's watching right now, that we can develop critical and rare earth mineral mining in the North in a way that is environmentally sustainable, that advances the reconciliation process and helps Ontario to be a global leader in the new climate economy. When we think of things like renewable energy, battery storage, electric vehicles, those metals and minerals have to come from somewhere, and they're abundant in Northern Ontario. So let's do it in a sustainable way and in a way that generates new career opportunities, jobs, and prosperity in Northern Ontario.
Thank you. No follow-up.
Okay, a reminder to please use the raise hand function if you have a question. Okay, looks like there are no more questions. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here today. Those of you in person, I deeply appreciate your questions. Those online as well. I'm looking forward to participating in the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities debate later today. And I just want to thank Ontario Green Party candidates across Northern Ontario and across the province who are working hard to listen to the people of their community, to talk about the issues and the kind of Ontario they want, because I know Greens are ready to lead. And so throughout the rest of this campaign, we are going to talk about how we can build a caring society, connected communities, and how we can be a global leader in the new climate economy. So I want to thank you for joining us here today. And I look forward to seeing you all later today. Thank you very much.